In William Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet, 3 sonnets and 2 partial sonnets can be found. 2 of these are very obvious, and 1 complete sonnet is hidden between the lines, and that is the one we are going to look at now. It can be found in Act 1, Scene 5, when Romeo talks to Juliet for the first time. So when you do your analysis, you want to first look at the form of the sonnet, then at the meter, as this helps you to detect important passages, and then especially focusing on those breaks in meter, look for stylistic devices that underline your interpretation. And this is what we will do in this video. So this is the sonnet, and it sticks out because most of the play is written in blank verse, so iambic pentameter that's not rhymed. And here you can see by the rhyme scheme that I have marked here along the sides that we're looking at a sonnet. So you have 1, 2, 3 quatrains, so 4 lines, and a rhyming couplet. That's the last 2 lines. If you're not sure about sonnets, there's a video you can check. So as you see, this is the typical sonnet form. There's the first quatrain, completely spoken by Romeo. Then there's the second quatrain, completely spoken by Juliet. And then they get more intimate, sharing the next quatrain among them. And then they get even more intimate, very close, by even sharing the same rhyme in the rhyming couplet, just before they actually kiss. The fact that this sonnet deviates a little bit from the regular rhyme scheme, normally you would have A, B, C, D, C, D. So the fact that we've actually got C, B, and CB again underlines the message of this love poem. That is that there's immediate understanding between Romeo and Juliet as soon as they start talking, as this can be is made clear by the fact that Juliet picks up on the rhymes here that are started by Romeo. They already show an immediate understanding and harmony between the lovers by the fact that these two quatrains are linked with this rhyme. Then in the third quatrain, as I said before, they are sharing the lines, so they get even more intimate. The harmony increases, the romance increases from line 1 down through the 3 quatrains, and then right before they kiss, this is the most intimate moments. They are sharing a rhyme, and this is followed by the kiss. On top of that, we can say that the iambic pentameter, so da-dum, 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 this imitates the heartbeat and also fits the love theme that is represented by this sonnet. So as I said before, this is really cool. Shakespeare hid another sonnet right after this sonnet, because if you look at the next 4 lines, you can see that they rhyme again. So it's 4 lines, first, second, third, and the 4th one is even a shared one, which is also broken up a little bit by a kiss. So this intimate relationship that has just started goes on in this quatrain, and then comes the nurse and interrupts the whole thing, so natus interruptus, but really this could be seen as sonnet after sonnet showing the very close relationship that's building between these two lovers. and the interruption there, that can probably be interpreted as some sort of foreshadowing, as it also shows what will happen later, that Romeo and Juliet's love story cannot go on without problems. So, having looked at the form, the next thing you want to do when analyzing a poem, or actually any passage of text, is to look at the meter. And as you have learned in my previous video, Shakespeare's plays are usually written in iambic pentameter that I have included in these little gray lines here between the verses. So this would be the regular iambic pentameter. And the next thing you want to do is find those passages that don't fit the meter, where you can find breaks in the meter, caesura, things like that. Read through it and I will mark them so that we can have a closer look at those words or phrases that are highlighted. So with the help of the meter, you can detect some of the more important passages of this excerpt here. And I have included some of them, the ones that I think we can find in here, color-coded, so that we find them in the text, and then I'll mark them, or I'll try to mark them in the correct color. What you should note is that as soon as you've got a break in the meter, some of the words stick out. So if you take, for example, this first line with the caesura here, this holy shrine, the gentle sin is this. So that makes the gentle sin stick out, which is, and I don't have a color for that, an oxymoron, I think. Gentle and sin sort of don't seem to fit together. We can mark that in a minute. The next line, my lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand. So the two blushing pilgrims is highlighted, and that, of course, is a metaphor. So we could mark that purple. And the two here fits the concept that runs through the entire play. Pairs, twos, we had the twosomes in the first sonnet, all kinds of pairs. So two underlines this concept of togetherness, also of opposites, that can be found throughout the play. If you look down here, the second half of this sonnet, there's a lot going on concerning the meter in these lines down here. And some of the words that are highlighted by these breaks in meter, we will have to look at them stylistically also. So if you look here in the line, have not saints' lips, and holy palmers too, highlights the holy palmers, or maybe the contrast between saints and palmers. And the next line, I, pilgrim, highlights the word pilgrim, and lips again, lips that they must use in prayer. With the lips, you've got again the concept of two, because it's repeated, so this word sticks out, as well as palmers is there twice. And then in the next line, line 11, oh then, dear saint, highlights the word saint, which is also there twice. Let lips, we've got the lips again, do what hands do. So lips contrasts with hands maybe. They pray, grant thou, lest faith turn to despair. So this passage is highlighted, and then again, grant. There's a pair again. Saints do not move, though grant for prayer's sake. So by looking at these passages, you have noticed some of the words that, now that we take a closer look at this, sort of jump out at us. So once you've looked at the form and the meter, you take a closer look at stylistic devices. And that's what we'll do now. I've given you a number of things to look out for in Shakespeare, stylistic devices that you will find in this sonnet. And one of the things we can start with first and then get into more detail is the choice of words. So you may have noticed that a lot of the words that are used in this sonnet have to deal with religion. So the word field religion can be marked here. Profane, unworthy, holy shrine, sin, pilgrims. What else have we got? Pilgrim again. Devotion, saints, palm and palmer, and holy, of course. I may have missed some, but this is already obvious that the choice of words here, the words, a lot of them come from the field of religion. This sort of leads us to one point here. This entire thing is actually, we said it's a love sonnet, and basically it's, if you think of Romeo and his Rosalind before, this is, well, there are spiritual references to religion, but actually in the service of a sexual seduction. This is very ironic. So on the one hand, you could argue maybe the choice of words to do with religion underlines the purity of Romeo and Juliet's love. On the other hand, it seems like blasphemy. It's very ironic to use religious words in the service of something sexual, so something completely unholy or impure. The next thing that sticks out are the words that are opposites, so antithesis. Romeo talks of himself as a pilgrim, so this is supposed to be read now, whereas Juliet is called a saint. So these are opposite ideas. Pilgrims usually go on pilgrimage because they want to be forgiven for some sin, or they are looking for something. Both fits to Romeo's character, and he describes himself as a pilgrim. Juliet picks that up, and he describes Juliet as holy as opposed to sin, or unworthy and holy could also be opposites. And we've got another antithesis here, smooth versus rough. So she is smooth, she's pure, whereas he is like a sinner, a pilgrim on his way to absolution, finding, being absolved by prayer, touching a saint. That's the idea of praying as well, maybe looking for help, being forgiven. So saints and palmers, that's could also be seen as an opposite. So we noticed that the saint was already highlighted by these breaks in meter. They are also, the phrase is also repeated several times. Romeo keeps calling Juliet saint, which underlines her purity, her innocence, and also her reactions to him at first. She says, saints do not move, which means that she's not the active part in this. Romeo's doing all the talking. He's trying to talk her into kissing, into a sin. And of course she gives in later, but basically this stressing of the word saint and saints do not move underlines that she's the pure part in this, and she also seems to want to stay inactive in this entire thing. Some other things are repeated several times, for example the kiss, also this idea of touching and hands touching, kisses? Are lips touching? By this, I would say this entire sin is highlighted. The word sin is also repeated several times. So this goes hand in hand, goes in the same direction of interpreting this, that touching and kissing, Elizabethan times, it was impossible to just go up to a girl, say, I want to kiss you. You would actually have to do what Paris did and talk to the father, ask for permission, and stick to the rules of society. Otherwise, you would bring about disorder. The chain of being is disturbed. So if you're looking at the metaphors that are hidden in this sonnet, you will see that they again highlight what we've already worked out. That is the holy shrine, of course, that is a metaphor, and the blushing pilgrims, which again underlines this idea of this contrast between Romeo as the sinner, the pilgrim, and Juliet as the innocent part in this relationship. I think we could also say that calling her a saint, like the holy shrine, that's also a metaphor for her innocence. So to sum this whole thing up, you can see here that there's actually a frame that can be found. So we've got sin up here and sin in the line right after the sonnet, so the next sonnet. And we've got all kinds of words that have to do with love and devotion, kisses, a lot of pairs again. So lips, hands, prayer, touch, devotion. All these words that come up more often, pairs, repetitions, underline the two belonging together, whereas the frame underlines that there's something there surrounding the love of these two, standing in the way of it, which I think could be the feud of the families that surrounds, like a frame here, surrounds the love of Romeo and Juliet, and actually then foreshadows that this is not going to end well.